Commander Zekthul adjusted his crystalline armor as he reviewed the tactical display floating before him. The hegemony's war machine had conquered 47 star systems without a single defeat. Their disciplined formations, superior technology, and unwavering adherence to the sacred military doctrines had crushed every resistance they encountered. Today would be no different. "Sir," his aide reported, "we've detected human forces massing in the Kepler Valley. Approximately 10,000 infantry, standard projectile weapons, primitive vehicles." Zekthul's mandibles clicked in amusement. The humans had been nothing but a minor nuisance since first contact 3 months ago. Their military technology lagged centuries behind hegemony standards. Their numbers were laughably small, and their tactics, well, they seemed to have no tactics at all. "Deploy the 13th Legion," he commanded. "Standard suppression formation. This will be concluded before the second sun sets." The 13th Legion was a masterpiece of military engineering. 50,000 soldiers moving in perfect synchronization. Plasma rifles charged. Hover tanks providing mobile artillery support. They advanced across the plains in textbook formation, sensors scanning for the expected human defensive positions. Instead, they found empty trenches. "Sir," came a confused report, "the humans appear to have abandoned their positions." Zekthul frowned. Every species the hegemony had encountered followed predictable patterns. They built fortifications, established defensive lines, and fought desperately to hold ground. It was logical. It was efficient. It was what any rational military force would do. The first indication that something was wrong came when Sergeant Colvis's entire squad simply vanished. One moment they were advancing through a cluster of human structures. The next moment their comm signals went dark. No explosions, no weapons fire, just silence. Then the reports began flooding in. A supply convoy had been hit by projectiles fired from impossible angles. A communications relay had been destroyed by what appeared to be concentrated small arms fire, but the shots had come from 6 different directions simultaneously. Patrol units were reporting human forces behind them, beside them, above them. "How many humans are there?" Zekthul demanded. Still 10,000, sir," his aide replied, voice wavering. "But they seem to be everywhere at once." What Zekthul couldn't understand was that humans didn't fight like civilized species. The Kree built massive armies and clashed in organized battles. The Vorthan established technological superiority and advanced in orderly waves. The hegemony itself had perfected the art of overwhelming force applied with mathematical precision. Humans, however, had spent their entire evolutionary history as prey animals who became predators through cunning rather than strength. They had refined the art of making one soldier worth 10, of turning terrain into an ally, of making their enemies fight ghosts and shadows. Captain Sarah Chen crouched in the abandoned subway tunnel checking her rifle. Around her, 24 volunteers waited for the signal. Above them, she could hear the heavy footsteps of hegemony forces advancing through the city streets. "Remember," she whispered into her comm, "we're not trying to win a pitched battle. We're trying to make them afraid of their own shadows." The plan was elegantly simple in its complexity. While the aliens expected a traditional defensive action, the humans had melted away into the urban landscape. Every building became a sniper's nest. Every sewer tunnel became a supply route. Every rooftop became an observation post. The hegemony's advanced sensors could detect large formations and energy signatures, but they struggled with small groups using primitive chemical weapons. Their tactical algorithms were designed to counter organized military forces, not civilians who could disappear into the population and emerge anywhere. Zekthul watched his orderly battle plan disintegrate in real time. His forces were taking casualties from attacks that came from every direction and no direction. His soldiers reported seeing human fighters who vanished like smoke when pursued. Supply lines that should have been secure were being severed by tiny groups that struck like lightning and disappeared before reinforcements could arrive. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving surrender offers from 17 different human commanders." "Excellent," Zekthul said, relief evident in his voice. "Open negotiations with..." "Sir, the problem is, they're all in different locations, and our intelligence suggests that none of them actually command more than 50 soldiers." It was a devastating psychological tactic. The humans were presenting the illusion of a fragmented resistance on the verge of collapse, drawing hegemony forces into a dozen different locations to accept surrenders that would never come. Instead, each negotiation site became another ambush point. The breaking point came when Private Hocknull, a veteran of 30 campaigns, was found catatonic in his combat suit. When questioned, he could only repeat, "They're in the walls. They're in the walls." How are they in the walls? Humans had discovered that the hegemony's advanced materials included hollow support structures, perfect for concealment. While aliens focused on controlling territory, humans were learning to become the territory. By the fourth day, Zekthul's mighty legion was jumping at shadows, firing at empty buildings and requesting constant air support against an enemy that seemed to phase in and out of existence. His soldiers, trained for glorious battle, were instead engaged in a terrifying game of cat and mouse where they could never be certain who was the cat. "Sir," his aide approached hesitantly, "the High Command is demanding a status report." Zekthul looked at his tactical display. Officially, his forces controlled 90% of the territory. His casualty reports showed minimal losses. His enemy hadn't won a single conventional engagement. And yet he was losing. "Tell them," he said quietly, "that human tactics cannot be countered by conventional military doctrine. They don't fight armies. They don't fight battles. They fight wars. And they fight them like no species we've ever encountered." The hegemony's perfect military machine had been designed to crush organized resistance. It had never been designed to handle an enemy that refused to be organized, that treated every citizen as a potential combatant, that turned warfare itself into an art form of controlled chaos. As reports continued to pour in of supply disruptions, communication blackouts, and the mysterious disappearance of entire patrol units, Zekthul realized that his civilization had encountered something unprecedented, a species that had turned survival itself into their greatest weapon. The humans weren't trying to win through superior firepower or advanced technology. They were winning by making victory itself meaningless, turning every conquered street into a liability, every secured building into a potential trap. No army survives against tactics it cannot predict, counter, or even fully comprehend. And humans, it seemed, were specialists in making the incomprehensible look effortless.